take care of you. All right, general notes. When you go to log into CPM now, and you go to your CPM home, you will now see 4 things. And your view will look very similar to mine of boom, boom. You will see the blue book, then the green book. Then you'll see the blue book Spanish version, and then the green book Spanish version. So you have access to CC3 now, which when you click it, the sidebars are green. So you know you're in the other book, as opposed to when I click the blue sidebars and I go into, oh, come on, give me the sidebars. Stop it. This is 7th grade book, right? Blue bars is 7th grade book. This is 8th grade book. Okay, so your homework tonight, chapter 1, 112, and we scroll down. I hide the toolbars always. We scroll down to our review preview, and there's a math notes box that might be important, but our review preview right here, questions 12 through question 16. Okay? If it asks you to make a graph, please do that. This is also why I really advise doing your homework on graph paper. This is going to ask you to sketch out figures 4 and 5. You don't have to sketch figures 1, 2, and 3, but I would advise that you should. It'll make your life easier. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Any big questions? Well, first, to pick up from our lesson yesterday with how much is a million, it's time for a story. Gather around, children. It is story time in Mr. Hudson's classroom. You can take a seat on the rug if you would like. I don't know if you guys had a story rug. Seriously, if you want to come up here and see the pictures. If you haven't read this book ever, it's completely factual. This book is 100% accurate, and the math, if you're curious about the math of how they calculate things, the math is in the back of the book. So the math that we're going to reference, it's all solved out here for you, and it's actually really interesting. And of course, some of it has to approximate, like we're going to approximate how tall a kid is or how big a goldfish is. So our book today is How Much is a Million by David M. Schwartz. I used to work in the Sunday school classroom. Don't worry. I'm very good at reading books. I'm not good at like teaching kindergarten, but I can read books. I can read books. All right, kids. If 1 million kids climbed onto one another's shoulders, they would be, make a prediction in your head, taller than the tallest building, higher than the highest mountain, which is not Mount Everest, and farther up than airplanes can fly. You have to make sure everybody sees the picture. Kids will get mad. If I point the book this way, then over there, Savannah's going to get mad if she doesn't see the pictures. If you wanted to count from 1 to 1 million, it would take you 23 days. I think that's averaging like 1 number per second or something like that, or maybe 2. The math is in the back if you're curious. If a goldfish bowl were big enough to hold 1 million goldfish, 1 million goldfish bowls, that'd be a lot of fish food. It could hold a whale. And I'm not quite sure what type of whale. It's in the back of the book. Check it if you want. Presto! 100 tiny stars. If this book had 1 million tiny stars, this is 100 tiny stars. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it looks like more than that. So, all that matters, forget how many this is, but through this span, I had whatever 100,000 is divided by 7. Sorry, so that's not, he made 100 stars right here. Sorry, that's 100, but then these are the tiny stars. So these pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many stars do you think that was? She said 1 million, and then she realized I thought 1 million. There you have 100,000 tiny stars. So the per page would be 100,000 divided by 7, close. If we wanted to show 1 million tiny stars, we would need 70 pages. How big is 1 billion? How's 1 billion compared to 1 million? Braylon, the hand went halfway up. How do you multiply to go from 1 million to 1 billion? Times what? Times 1,000. every time we change the alien name, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, you're multiplying by 1,000. If 1 billion kids made a human tower, it would stand up past the moon. If you sat down to count from 1 to 1 billion, it would take you 95 years.
Wait, years or days?
95 years. Remember, we're multiplying by 1,000. What was 23 days, we have to multiply that by 1,000. Times 10 is almost a year. Like it's more than half a year. Yeah.
Is that by skipping nights or is it?
So the math is in the back of the book. If you guys want to check this out later, it's Mrs. Cullinan's book. After today, I'm going to give it back to her, and she will have it if you want to borrow it. If you found a goldfish bowl large enough to hold 1 billion goldfish, it would be as big as a stadium. And it would probably tell you which stadium in the back. If this book had 1 billion tiny stars, its pages, spread side by side, would stretch almost 10 miles. That's like from here to downtown Columbus. How tremendous is 1 trillion? If 1 trillion kids stood on top of each other, they would reach way, way beyond the moon. Beyond Mars and Jupiter too, and almost as far as Saturn's rings. If you wanted to count from 1 to 1 trillion, it would only take you 200,000 years. Only like 10 times since the day, only approximately 100 times the amount of time span since we started counting the positive years. Like AD, right after death, in the year of our Lord, or whatever you want to say. We're 2018, right? Multiply that by 1,000. Sorry, multiply that by 100. 100 of our human lifespans. Not human, but you know. That's hard. If you really want to trace it back, humans are like thousands and thousands of years old, like way more than 2,000. Sorry, if we wanted to hold 1 trillion goldfish, the bowl would have to be as big as a city harbor. Like where giant ships, cruise ships, things like that come in. If you put 1 trillion of our stars onto a gigantic roll of paper and stretch it, it would go from New York to New Zealand. And then there's them. All right, so now we got to have class. Thank you very much for your attention. You are going to dive into your unit on big numbers with Mrs. Cullinan, and that will relate to the things you're going to talk about. And she has so much to share with you. It's just hard for her to share everything. So I told her that I would help out. If we could teach together, we would. We just can't really partner up because how math switches between Mr. Hall and me. So today we're going to do some investigation. And a lot of it, I'm going to try to like be hands off and just let you guys do your thing. Oh, you didn't need that already. Yeah, that's okay. You all do? Oh, if you're going to start wearing them for one class, you should just keep them on. I mean, if you have a name tag on, you don't need your name tag out. How about that? Put your name on this. It's hole punched. It will go in your binder. This was to save you time with drawing. But we are not looking at this quite yet. Anybody feel like reading? I mean, I just read a lot and my throat kind of hurts. Hey, how are your glasses? Okay. Keep a backup pair. At some, well, so I go to where do I go? America's Best, and they do like the 2-pair deal. So I always have a backup pair of glasses, which is good.
I'm just running.
Oh, I hate glasses. The air in here is kind of dry, and I'm here somewhere. Anybody feel like reading? You're facing a weird direction and you don't have a textbook, so if you want to turn, often mathematics, and then you can go all the way down through those 3 questions.
Often mathematics is described as the study of patterns. Today we're going to do future work with patterns by studying child patterns and making them predict and using them to make predictions. As you work on these patterns, consider the following questions. How do I see the pattern? How is it changing? And is there another way to find the solution?
So, that whole, is there another way? I very much want to remind us that in our teams, we need to respect each other. All because somebody says something different than what I'm saying doesn't make it right versus wrong. It might just be different. That's like saying 2 plus 2 versus 3 plus 1. They're both 4. So let's be nice. This is often where people start to get at each other. They're like, no, it's this way. No, it's that. No, it could be both ways. So, 1-8. So in your notes, let's make sure we have a good header, and I should move screens. I really wish I had 2 smart boards. That's really all I want. Is it too much to ask to just have all of the technology?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so date 8/23. That caught me off guard today. Yeah, so you're heading your notes, right? So either bring a sheet of paper or you can keep going. No, so this needs to be on graph paper. Sorry, we're going to use the other paper, but you have to take notes separately. There's not enough space on that one. So, 8/2/3. We're on 1/1/2, which you might want to make a note because that'll be confusing. It'll seem like you went backwards. We're in CC3. I would make a note if I was you. And what are we doing? Investigating patterns. So I'm going to say pattern investigation. And our first question is 1-8. You don't have to put the 1 dash, by the way, if you want. You just want to put 8, that's fine. So when we're working with our team to answer questions and solve problems in this course, let's remember our collaborative learning expectations. I'm skipping a lot of that. I'm going to make a poster for this probably, or I might ask one of you guys to do it during AO or something like that. But the big thing is that acronym right here, TEAMS, together, we're working to answer questions, right? Not I'm over here working, you're over there working, then we'll check answers with each other. No, you want to talk the whole time. You want to work together the whole time. Explain and give reasons. You don't just say it is this because I said so and I'm smarter than you. You have to explain why something is what it is. Ask questions, share ideas. So I should move this down so it's like for anybody at home that's only watching the video. Members of your team are your first resource. Do not raise your hand and ask me a question unless you've asked your team, because my response will be, have you asked your team? And we'll waste time, and it will be this cycle of nonsense. Now, if you've asked your team and nobody can figure it out, yeah, call me over. But you better have all talked about it already. Because if, and I will often pick on whoever's close, if Quinn asks me a question, I'm going to look at Olivia and ask her the question. And if she knows the answer, I'm going to be kind of frustrated, upset, disappointed, whatever you want to say, that like Quinn didn't use his first resource, right? We should all be working together with each other. Before you go to me, I should be, Dr. Gupta, who is one of the heads of Worthington, has been using this phrase that I actually kind of like. There's a lot of phrases in education that are just cheesy, but there's been a shift in teacher role from sage on the stage, which means, oh, look at me, I'm going to give you everything, and it's like, it's me and you, and I'm teaching you, to us now, teachers being the guide on the side. Like, we're all on this journey together. I'm over here, like, chatting with Olivia on the side, and you guys are doing your own thing, and, like, hopefully I'm not at the front leading us. We're just, like, all going together, and if you need some help, or, like, I'm over here, but I shouldn't be, like, leading your learning. You should be in charge of your learning. Okay, because that's the best way for you to learn. What it really comes down to is how are you going to remember it long term? And that CPM did a ton of research into how kids remember things. You guys figuring it out on your own is much more impactful than me just saying, oh, here, memorize this. And as smarter together than apart, of course, more brains are going to be smarter. So you don't have to copy this because I'm nice. I know. I'm just the best. So on your paper, and look only at 9 first. We're only going to work with 9 first. You want to figure out how would we draw pattern 1, and this is on the handout that I gave you, for figure 1, figure 5, and figure 6. And then can we describe it? So, excuse me, I'm going to move my textbook up onto the TV in a second. But what we want to answer after we draw those on the handout, back in your notes, so I'm going to help you set up your notes. Sorry, I guess 1-8, we should have just labeled 1-9. This wanted me to print those out and have you guys put them in your notebook, but I disagree with printing everything. I think we can just discuss it and come back to it if we need to. I don't want to clutter your notebook with stuff. So we're now at 1-9. The first thing you're going to have on 1-9 will be B. Now you can make a note if you want and say A is the handout. Or a way that kids often do that Anyone ever use OSS? On separate sheet. OSS means, hey, there's another sheet of paper. So if you want to just code things with OSS when there's handouts, or like on your test, if you do work on a separate sheet of paper, you just put OSS. I know what that means. So B, you need to answer how it's changing, like how you are seeing it grow. And your group doesn't necessarily have to agree, but you at least need to discuss with each other. And if you disagree, figure out, are you disagreeing but actually kind of saying the same thing, or do you actually disagree? And then you need to stick up a hand and check with me, because if we totally disagree, like there is a correct way to look at this, and you could look at it wrong, but there are multiple correct ways. If you get done with 9, call me over before you move on to 10. Okay? 10 is essentially the same thing, but it's a different pattern, different growth. And C, what would figure 100 look like? Describe it. Don't draw it, because you can't. What would figure 100 look like? Describe it. And then how many total tiles would I have? So, I mean, work through the book. You guys should have a book up, but I'll zoom in on this a little bit more. We should always have at least one book at our group, so somebody can check the book. Like if I move on to a different screen up here, you should not be solely relying on my screens. Now today that's kind of okay, but in the future we should not be solely relying on my screens. I'm going to give you probably 10 minutes. I'm going to try to not talk to the whole class for 10 minutes. I'm going to come around and talk to you like at your groups, but I'll try to shut up for 10. So dive in, guys. You should be able to draw the figure 1 and 5 and 6 on that paper. Yeah, you can kind of see the like grid. It didn't print very dark, but you can kind of see the grid. So you got 1, but what about 5 and 6? Well, I mean, you can go ahead and make a prediction if you want. Like sketch it out, maybe not shade it in. Try, just to help your brain, try to put lines. No, you're good. Put dark lines across so you can see the squares and count the individual numbers of tiles. Like I really like what we did here, so you can see the tiles. You kind of shaded each of them.
It looks like this. No, it does not look like that.
I would maybe advise trying to do 1 before you move on to figure 5, just so you can see a few of them. But I mean, you already know what 5 is supposed to be.
Wait a second. No, it grows by 2 every time, so this would have to go.
If you want to put these in the graph paper, you can. If the handout's not great, you can draw these in the graph paper. I would draw the lines so you can count individual tiles.
Yes, look, this, it goes from 3 to 5. So is it at 3?
4. You gotta put dark lines across and down so you can actually count the number of tiles in there. And you sure about that, Spirit? You sure we're talking with each other, guys?
I think it will do something like that.
It has to be 3 up.
Guys, when you go to draw your figures, and I think most groups have the same thing, try to make sure that you draw so you can count the individual numbers of squares. We just want to get used to working kind of like this. So we don't want to just draw the shape of an L. I think most of you did this. But don't leave it like that. Draw your lines across and down so you can see the individual tiles. And then it's sometimes easier to shade individual tiles so your brain can count. Oh yeah, there's 4 there.
Is that the actual?
I don't, that's just what I saw on some papers. I'm just trying to advise you. Draw the line so you can count individual tiles.
Figure 5 would be 1 up extra. It would be 7 up. Yeah, that's what. And then 9.
I wish each of you had a smartboard. Or like an iPad.
Wait, is it 9 or 10?
Yeah, I feel like it goes.
I think it's 9, but including
You could also count number of tiles. That's sometimes helpful.
And then up would be that's one up, so and one out every time. So it would be one, it would be 6 up. No, right here. This goes from 2,
8, 6, and 7. You mean 6?
5 and 6. 5 out. There's always adding. See, this gets bigger every time.
The whole outside.
This is 4, this is 3, this is 2. Yeah, because 5 counting this.
This goes
And it's the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the same way. You still gotta do 3, 1, 2, 5, 6. What?
Oh! Wow. You guys must be like, man, Hudson's talking like crazy because he wants us to have books out and we don't have books. I meant to do that first thing. Is there anybody who does not have internet access at home and would like to have priority in getting a book? Because so here's what's up. Unfortunately, and I should have planned this out better, your CC2 and CC3 book numbers will not be the same. Most of you will probably not ever take the books home because if you have internet access at home and you want to use the ebook, that's just as good. But CC3 books, we have all right here. I only have 17 books right now. I know they go to 18, but 17 another teacher has. So does anybody deeply need a book to take home with you? Then what I'm going to do, since 66 doesn't actually exist yet, and neither does 65 or 64. These are books that will come in. I'm going to start the CC3 books at the bottom, and then we're just going to need to make a note somewhere. Probably we'll do some Sharpies someday or something right inside your binders. But I'm going to go up with these books, the CC3. Now, regardless of that, you can come borrow one right now if you want, just for class. So if you want a book, come grab one. But the book that will actually be assigned to you, I'm still waiting for more books to get in. But if you have a number under under 18, you can go ahead and that's your book. So if you need a book, come grab one. What's your last name? You should be. How did I miss you? Is there anybody else who's not on here? I know what happened. Gwendolyn was on here twice somehow, and I didn't know exactly what had happened that made that happen. What do I need to do? Insert cells, shift down. So 17 doesn't exist, sorry, so 18. So right now, Gwendolyn, Marin, and Connor, and Caitlin, sorry, you don't have books yet.
What about 11?
Apparently my brain forgot about the number 11. I love that all this is being recorded. It's like, yeah, you're a math teacher? Did I skip any numbers now?
No.
But we're going to shift all these
I
down.
don't have
Wait, can you delete these, or do you have to buy these?
What?
Is editing something you have to buy, or can you edit?
No. So these are the numbers of physical books.
I don't know for the video. Can you edit?
Oh, I could, but I don't. It's just funny that I was goofing up numbers and I skipped 11. And I like laughing at myself. It's okay. It's how you stay. It's how you stay happy, is being able to laugh at yourself. But we'll deal with if you want to take a textbook home, really, just come see me. I just want to know that you're taking a book home. So if you want to take your book home, or any book home, come see me so you make sure you take the right number. But I would probably actually give you one of my loaner books that has a cover on it. So if you really want to take a book home, I'll probably give you one that's going to be more protected. Anybody know yet? It's been 8 minutes. There's 8 tiles in that one, 15 tiles in that one. Can anyone draw figure 1? You real confident? Your hand's been up for a long time. Braylon, come up, draw figure 1. Can anyone draw figure 5? Marin, you've had your hand up a lot today, and I haven't gotten to call on you. So, Marin, draw figure 5. You want to draw figure 6, George? Okay. Does everybody agree? So what I'll start to say in our classes is, are there any discrepancies? A discrepancy is when you have an issue with something. So like this morning, if you were on this side of foundations, I had an issue with, what did I get upset about? Oh, 8 sides on the stop sign. That isn't true. There are 8 edges on the stop sign. There are only 2 sides. So I had an issue with, I had a discrepancy with that. Anyone have a discrepancy with this?
No.
Connor?
Yeah, you can have at the bottom one, at the bottom also adds 2, not 1. And when you, every time you go up, you also add a second, you also add another, like a new one, right next to the previous one. Like for one, the top one that's sticking out, when you go up, a new row gets added.
So it should look like a row of 3 and
Do you think you can fix it? If you come up here? Do you think you can draw it right? Simon, do you? Let's try this again. This isn't quite right. This is really close, and this is what everybody that I looked at, pretty much, had on their paper. That's not quite right. Because look at the bottom. Every time you move forward, the bottom bumps out by 2. The top bumps up by 1, and then this, like, L gets stacked on top.
what? No.
I think that's too many blocks. Because look, you have that, and that. You went up 1, over 1. So let's give this a moment. Take a seat real quick, Simon. Whoever I told to do 5, can do 5. Let's see if we can do 5 right.
No.
can't draw.
You can't draw? What do you mean you can't draw?
It's like not letting me.
Oh, green doesn't work. Sorry if I haven't announced that in this spot. My smartboard is broken. The sensor on green doesn't work. So if you want green, you pick up a different marker and then change the color to green by tapping the pen at the bottom right of the screen. What if I change how I look at this? You're good. You can keep looking. In figure 2, erase real quick. I think some of this might be confusing some of you guys. So let me get rid of that. So Marin's are on figure 5, but in figure 2, if I try to look at it as a big shape and then whatever else I have a main rectangle, right? It's 2 by 3, 2 wide, 3 tall, and then I have like boop, boop, like extra blocks. top, bottom. One extra block top, one extra block right. In figure 3, what's my big rectangle? Anybody? 3 by 4. And then, boop, boop, extra 1, extra 2. Okay. What's my big rectangle in figure 4? Anyway, we're just talking. 4 by 5, right? Extra 1, extra 3. So, Marin drew a 5 by 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I make a tiny tweak? I think you got confused up here. So this is, if you're not with us, if you're not seeing what we're seeing, we have a 2 by 3, 2 wide, 3 tall, extra block, extra block. We have a 3 by 4, extra 1, extra 2. We have a 4 by 5, extra block, extra 3. So what should this rectangle be? Anyway. Just say it. 5 by 6, right? 2 by 3, 3 by 4, 4 by 5, 5 by 6. So I think the smartboard messed up, Marin, because it's hard to see up here when we're doing things like that. Oh, I almost made it. I think that's what you were going for. Have 5 by 6, and then still extra 1. And how many down here? How do I figure out how many extra? How do I, what can I relate it to? Like, how many extra will I have in figure 12? How many extra blocks? Anyway, just in figure 12, let's say I do figure 12 out here, how many extra blocks would stick off the end?
You'd have 11.
11, check it. 1 in figure 2, 2 in figure 3, 3 in figure 4, 4 in figure 5. How many extra blocks does figure 1 have?
1.
0. You know what it is? I'm trying. Figure 1. You know figure 1, right? So if figure 2 was a 2 by 3, 3 was a 3 by 4, 1 should be a 1 by 2. But, and the extra block on top. So what Olivia just actually drew was a 1 by 2 with an extra block on top, like everything has the extra block on top. But it has 0 extras because the extras are 1 less than the figure. George, can draw figure 6.
I think I got the formula.
And now that we've done that, check out part 10, or 1-10, see if you can figure that. I don't even know if we're going to wrap that part up today. We might leave that to talk about till tomorrow. I want to give you guys at least like 5 minutes to talk about that together. So we're going to see George's, we're going to check it, but you guys can go ahead and start looking at 10 if you want. However you, well, so for B, hey, so for 1-9, sorry, Olivia asked a really good question. What should we have for part B? Like, how is it changing? Write whatever makes sense in your brain for the center rectangle. Right, so if it's a 2 by 3, and then a 3 by 4 and a 4 by 5, it's really like the figure number by that plus 1. Right, so whatever figure it is, figure 2 gets a 2 by 3. Figure 8 will get an 8 by 9. Figure 12 will get a 12 by 13. So whatever you can write in your notes for that middle rectangle, then we get a bonus block on top and the extras off to the side. So what'd you make, George? You made a 6 by 7. And then how many extra blocks? Yeah. It's a 6 by 7 with 5 extra blocks. Awesome. So I'm going to pop back to my notes. I'm going to show you the technical way we could write this, if you want the technical way. If we want to talk about any figure we will encounter, for figure n, whatever number figure it is, we will have, well, I don't even need to say center. We will have rectangle. How do I talk about the dimensions of the rectangle? It would be what by what? Okay.
N times n plus 1.
N, but now x is normally what we would use for by, right? For like dimensions. So if you can remember that a little x no longer means multiplication, which it really could because to get area. But right now we're using it as dimensions. That's not a variable. That means like this by that. Or you could literally write n by n plus 1. That's our rectangle. What else do we have?
We also have plus n minus 1.
Yeah, plus the n minus 1 extra blocks on the right. And yep, one bonus on top.
I love bonuses.
So what would the, and we will not have time to wrap up 10. I'll just have you guys chat about it and then we'll talk about it tomorrow, which might mean that I'm going to modify tomorrow's lesson a little bit. But what will figure 100 look like? Let's just sketch it. Bonus block, right? We have 1 up here. What would the dimensions of this rectangle be? Braylon? 100 by 101. And then how many blocks would be out here? 99. Whoa. So to find out the total blocks in here, 101 times 100, just put the zeros on the end.
That would be 10,000.
So here, yeah, 10,100 blocks plus the 99 over here plus the 1.
Couldn't we also say it would be just plus n by n plus 1 plus n?
Yeah, but we know what figure we're doing now. They asked us in C to do figure 100, like describe what it would look like. Try 10. Use the rest of the time to chat with your team. I'm not going to say anything else. Aside from homework check tomorrow, please be ready. If you have questions, let me know. Chat about 10 until we get out of here. Scroll up a little bit. Yeah. 1 bonus on top. Sorry, my B's don't always connect. Yes, keep that hand out. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Hey guys, if we ever don't finish class, assume that's right where we pick up the next day. Like imagine driving somewhere and you stop. We're starting wherever we stopped. If you want to check your numbers and write them somewhere, here's your book numbers if you're looking to like document those somewhere. So these don't exist.
1, 2. No, you add 1 else. So you were making 2, so you would add. No, there'll be 100 else. Yeah, you add.
Good morning. At the class change, could Gwendolyn Armstrong please stop by the office? At the class change, Gwendolyn Armstrong please stop by the office. Thank you.
I have a method I normally start with, so that's what I'm going to draw up here. You can totally just do your own thing.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah,
It's just adding what to each chart.
Not 3, but
Oh yeah, but 4. So
because the starting figure would be 5 by 1 and then out.
So we'll do something like this.
No,
Blue doesn't really help me a ton.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know there was writing on.
You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it like super in your
Never
face.
mind.
Alright guys, that is all the time that we have for today. Please pack it up, put things back in where they belong. And please make sure you have your homework ready tomorrow. Tomorrow we will be stapling those assignments together when you turn them in. So you'll turn in 3 assignments stapled together. We will talk about it tomorrow, no worries. Have a wonderful day. Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah!